Hello. We came off from a weekend of amazing and really good store chance results. Me and Ali attended two in our local area. Can't remember the numbers. Probably what I think the first one was around 15 and the next one was around 20 because the first one was 4 rounds and the next one was and the one on the Sunday was 5 rounds. But we managed to get to the finals and win both. We won with Blurple on the Saturday, and we won with Amber Steel on the Sunday. Well, we got to the finals with Ali. I was top seed, and because I already had a mat, we decided to give her the win and go out and enjoy the sunshine. But I'll just walk you through the two lists. I think they're both just great choices. It's pretty much lists I've been posting quite a lot and doing videos on. So if you like any of them and want to run them at your store champs, like the channel is just filled with tons of videos on mulligans and matchups and things like that. I think it is. I think that's what I'm doing content on. Sorry, I'm terrible at my memory, but I believe that's what the last few videos have been on. But yeah. We'll just start with both lists. We'll go with the Saturday one first, and this is the one we used on Saturday. We actually didn't drop an entire game. We didn't drop a game the entire day. It was just fully consistent, really strong list, and it's the JDR special in there. It's his list he's got on Dreamborn, and the only difference that we do is he adds, I think, two more Monstros in his right now. Before that, he had two Annas, the 6-cost Anna, and just every set champs I've been basically changing that around to different cards just to try it. As long as they're inkable, it tends to be fine. I did think about putting Peter Pan Shadowfinder in there, but because it's not inkable and I couldn't really figure out what it was bringing to the table for me, being the Blurple player, I didn't bother using it in the end, but we tried Hypnotic Strength because I thought, that could be interesting. There's a lot of green-purple discard around. Getting rid of Iagos is good. Like in the mirror, sometimes you can just lose because their Iago gets ahead on the board, so just sniping it out would be great. On top of that, buffing my Iago to a 6 strength, Bell, anything, making it, just giving 2 strength is cool. Making Bella 5/3 would be cool, but in the end I'm going to say don't run that card. Don't bother running that card. It was not used once. Even in scenarios where we could have used it, we still went for things like use Elsa to exert an Iago and then run my Iago and Elsa into their Iago. There was still just so many other different directions we went and plays we made where the card was pretty much ink every day, but of course it's 2 cards in the list and we could afford to run them and ink them. But I think there maybe would be some niche scenarios where they are useful. I think anyone's watching this video went, I run Hypnotic Strength for my Blurple list. Like, I think it's completely valid too. I had the reasoning that it would be a good choice in there. But overall, it just felt like it never did anything, and to the point where you could really just 4x the Monstro the way that JDR has done it on his list, and I think that's completely fine. I think that's probably the appropriate thing to do, because those 2 cards in there, it never really feels like any of them are perfect, even the 6-cost Anna, which my partner Ali did in the end. She ran this list and she took the Hypnotic Strengths out to put the Anna back in, and she said it had some moments, where it was just like, I wanted to establish a body on the board that's not going to get Zeus or Elsa Exert and dealt with easily, so 3/6 is pretty nice. But overall, I still don't think it was like big enough of an impact to say it was an important card. It probably ended up being inked a lot as well. So yeah, that slot can really be swapped around with anything. Last weekend we tried it. I posted a list and we had Cuzco in there because just Ruby Sapphire Shark was what I was afraid of, and everyone was putting Carpetbag text in there, which kind of like in my head made the matchup a little bit worse because they get to draw 2 cards a turn. They get to draw for turn and for the Carpetbag. But in the end, it still doesn't matter too much. They might not find it, or they might not find it early enough and just resource themselves out of the game before they even get to use it. So honestly, I think you could just put that as 4x Monstro, the same way JDR has. It's unlikely you're going to use any of those Monstros for the entire weekend. You might just end up using it once, but like I say, it's an inkable and it's keeping the core game plan of when you actually need Monstro in this in the meta, which to be fair does happen. There's a lot of decks can go wide on you, a lot of like Amber Steels and times where you have to deal with locations. I think it'd be very good then. But it felt very smooth. It was a very strange room. It seems like green has really taken over the east of England's set champs, or I don't know if it's taken over in your region as well. It'd be really nice to see what people are playing against in their regions. So do let me know in the comments if you like Steel Song's taken over or Ruby Sapphire Shark's taken over. But Ruby Sapphire Shark's quite popular in my local area, but for the whole region of where I live, green has just taken over. And on the day one, you know, we played two green blues, you know, like Clarabelle type builds where, you know, they're ramping to a Clarabelle, which is fairly awkward for Blurple. You know, they set up a muses and then it's just this like thing that just sings free every turn. And then they bounce everything back to your hand and play a Clarabelle, and it's kind of like you need to Hades on it, and then like Ink Geyser you and bend to your will, and there's just so many things they could do. So we just had to really understand that matchup and shove everything into the Inkwell and play off the top, hoping that Clarabelle doesn't get much value. Into some green-yellow discard as well we played on the day. Again, just not a conventionally good matchup for Blurple in general, because they're just playing so much ward stuff. They're hitting you with the discard, and at some point they're going to Keter under the sea you and just basically lock you out of the game. But again, the deck just is playing so many fundamentals. It's just all good stuff. It's playing with an ink advantage because it gets the ramp. It's consistent. It will always draw cards. It will always put bodies on the board. It will do everything you need it to do, especially at this like quantity of 4xing all the cards that you need. And we just managed to win on consistency in those matchups. You know, the Under the Sea player just didn't see the cards in the right time, didn't see the Prince John early enough. Can't get value from Diablo because Blurple never really lets you do that with the Iagos, Genies, and Elses. And we just managed to win it, and we played them again in the top four, and we managed to win it again just for the fact of, you know, their deck is this heavy combo piece deck, and we're like, great, we're just going to play this consistent game plan, and if you can answer it, that's great, but, you know, we're going to hit Elsa Exert and take out your aerials. You can try and discard us, that's fine, but we're always going to draw more cards and put more threats on the board than you've drawn from your one or two sudden chills. You know, if you're going to You Have Forgotten Me, maybe I'll hand up my entire hand, knowing that I'm probably going to draw into a Finders Keepers or Friends that we can sing and then play more stuff on the board. You know, I'm just going to put big bodies down, and we're just going to keep consistently like grinding you out of the game. So yeah, it was just amazing there. And the finals of that day was against Green Purple Discard, which is the matchup I've kind of been thinking about the most. I'll admit I have not been practicing heavily into, but it's the one that I've been sort of theorying in my head and like, how am I supposed to improve this matchup? And we played the player in top four and lost to them the week before. Like a really good player, like just really understands their stuff and knows what's going on with the deck. Had some interesting cards in there, like Lewis as well, the alligator green card. But we managed to come away with the win from that. I think unless, you know, Green Purple is running extremely hot, you know, they've singing everything they want, they're discarding pull the level for Diablo and wrong levering your stuff to the bottom of the deck and moving things to a cove, and Prince John discarding you way before you're able to get a huge ink advantage, they can win. But overall, it feels fairly favored for the Blurple play. Like, you're going to put a Genie Iago and get to Elsa sooner than they are. You're going to win that evasive war. And like I say, unless they're not going to have anything to sing their sudden chills and their discard cards from, so the Prince John discard route is out of the way as well. And it just feels like the thing that Blurple's always been good at is it kind of just wins the purple matchups. That was when Blurple sort of started coming back into the scene. Everyone said the thing it does is it wins all the purple matchups, and to be honest with you, it really feels like it does that. I think RP Shark is fairly rough, but it seems it's just completely out of the meta. Maybe that's because of Green Purple discard. I'm not really sure why that deck's completely gone, but it seems to just not be as relevant anymore. So Blurple just feels so strong, especially in these rooms. And let's say Ali played this on the Sunday, and even to the Stillsong players, they just it feels like when Stillsong does its thing, you know, it's singing Holy World, it's got its songs in its hand, it's Zeusing anything that you play and strengthening it. It's amazing. When it doesn't do its thing, you know, it's the same matchup that you'd have into like Yellow Green Under the Sea, where I'm just going to slowly put a character every time on the board. I'm going to put a Genie, I'm going to Elsa, I'm going to Bell, I'm going to Hades you, I'm going to put Tamatars, I'm going to draw cards, I'm going to go wider. You know, once it does all those things, it's great. And the Amber Steel player can't be like, oh, I didn't draw a whole new world off Aerial. I just need to wait a couple turns, because Blurple will be like, it's fine, I'm just going to Elsa Exert, take that out, then put some goats on the board, maybe some more Genies, maybe pop for Bell, and just get a bit wider than you. So it feels like they really need to be playing optimally, and you can just be playing the same game plan you always play and that you always manage to achieve with this deck. So it's probably still my strongest choice for set champs, I think, especially if you don't know what's in the room. Like, you just turn up and you're like, oh, it's a store that I've never attended, or it's a store that's an hour or 2 hours away. It just feels strong. It just feels like you have agency into every matchup. You know, you might pair into like say something that's very off meta right now, like an Amber Ruby Mufasa deck or something, and you go, right, so how are we going to do this? I need to get rid of their Gaston, so I'm going to put a Goat down, and I'm going to Elsa Exert and take it out. I'm going to get my Hades if they ever play Mufasa, just so they don't get huge value, or I can just aggro these genies. They're not touching these genies because they don't really have any evasion. So do they play Tremaine? Let's think about Tremaine. Do I need Tipo instead of Sail? And you just do all those fundamental choices that you would do, that you have access to. Basically, it's not like if you're playing a certain deck like Ruby Sapphire Shark per se, like where your only real option is to ramp and play sharks and play manas and play your actions. Whereas this, it just feels like, you know, I've got options, I've got ways to move around, and maybe not Ruby Sapphire Shark as much, but like Amber Steel Aggro is probably a very good example. But it's, you know, you're playing against a Amber Steel, a Ruby Amber Mufasa deck, say. It's like, right, so I can use some of these songs to remove some of those things, but generally to win the game, I'm going to have to do my aggro game plan because I'm going to need to get to 20. You know, if we're just going to sit here inking for a bit and I'm deleting their characters, they're just going to end up free playing Tremaines and Maleficent Big Dragons and Mufasas. I'm just going to lose off that. So yeah, it just feels so flexible in every matchup. It feels like everything you know, you have got options into every matchup and things to do. So still my strongest choice. Let's say on that day we didn't drop an entire game. We went 2-0 the entire day. So really awesome stuff. And the other list that we did was Amber Steel aggro, but I'd call it sort of my hybridy build because, you know, if it's full aggro, I don't agree that we'd be playing Zeus and Ursula, the 2-cost Ursula in there. And, you know, once you view some of these cards probably just wouldn't make the cut. Like 4xing Piglet is pretty aggro, but you know, there's just some things in there. It mainly, probably to be honest with you, is the Ursula and the Along Came Zeus, but it's just the approach and the play style as well. It doesn't feel full aggro. It feels like you can go either way. Like if you want to control the board a little bit, you can. If you want to go aggro, you can. And yeah, I was excited to play it because I hadn't really managed to get it to any events recently, and Ali suggested playing the Blurple list, and I was like, that's awesome because I think Blurple is very good for players to learn very fundamental rules of Lorcana. Like you don't sing Zeus from your 2-cost in Blurple, you know, you don't do stupidly broken stuff like that. You don't. The best thing you get is Bell singing Friends, so you learn so many fundamentals. But with Amber Salagro, like I really wanted to play it. I really wanted to play this list again. The last time I played it was at the Content Creator Store Champs, and it didn't do particularly well. The only change I'd made from then was I think I had 2 Ariels or 2 Svens in the list. I took them out and put 2 Lawrences in. That was mainly advice from a gentleman called Colin, who was playing at Axion and did very well with the list, and I think this was exactly how his list ended up being. If I'm wrong on that or I'm right on that, please let me know, Colin. But yeah, it just ended up doing exactly what I wanted to do on the day. We didn't 2-0 every matchup. We got some 2-1s in there versus Green Purple and 2-1s into versus Steel Song. I did post my matchup spread on Twitter. It was pretty much game 1. We started it and I was like kind of just in the zone. I was a bit tired as well. I had planned on playing Green Steel that day, but I was like, you know what, I want to play this aggro deck. I haven't really brought it out too much, and game 1 it was horrible. Sort of on the draw we missed everything. You know, it was just drawing 1-drop after 1-drop. Like we mulliganed pretty fine. I thought we started out, you know, I think it was like Cinderella into Smee into whatever lady, and then it was just draw 1-drop, no Doc, no Rapunzel, not even a song to kill anything. And it was like, oh great, so this is the day. The deck is playing exactly the same way it's always been playing. And then game 2, it just for some reason turned on and was basically on for the entire day. We were down to about a Cinderella on board. I think there was like a 1-drop Rhino as well. We draw a Doc off the top. We play the Doc. We draw into a Doc and a Strength. We sing the Strength. Then we play the Doc. Then we draw a Smee and a Doc. And then we play the Doc. And then we drew into like Shift. It just popped off. It just did exactly what I wanted it to do for the first time in a competitive event. And from there on out, it was just great. Like, you know, the next game, it was have only the 1-drop Rhino in hand, but the hand was filled with songs. Top deck the Shift. Sing the removal on their Diablo, and then sing removal next turn whilst we keep aggressing the board, find 1 Doc. So sometimes all you need is just 1 Doc, go wide, and it just did exactly what I wanted it to. And then it was great to play into some Steel Song matchups because we got to try that more leaning into the control version of it. So you play the Cinderella, you play the Ursula down, and you just Zeus anything they play that could threaten your board. Your Lady go wide, play the Doc, go wide, and at this point, you know, your board is like Lady Piglet, Ursula singing removal for you, maybe some Smees or whatever. Maybe you've actually be able to develop the Rhino as well, and you've got a Rhino on board, and it's like yeah, go on hard cast, you'll let the storm on Piglet. I'm going to win this race. I'm going to get to 20 before you. And then at some point, the board's going to be so aggressively wide that they would have to do a whole new world. And then you just play more characters and play a Pete and you win the game. And it just did that every game from there on out. I think it's a very strong pick into green purple discard. I did not think it would be, because I just never feel confident playing a deck that's focusing so much around songs into a discard matchup. But to be honest with you, like, they're going to have to hard mulligan for that 2-drop Ursula, and if you kept more than one song, you're going to get to sing that song removal. And if you play Cinderella, let the storm on the play, you're going to be able to use that and just go wide. And their deck is very built for going in on shifting Diablo and keeping it alive so it can keep resourcing their opponent. Whereas you have so many options just to throw cheap removal. You might even just top deck a strength is enough sometimes to win you the game. And they can't really do Prince John discard, because by the time they establish, some singers to sing Sudden Chills, a Prince John on the board, you can go, oh, okay, cool, they're going to discard me now. I'll just play every card from my hand on the board, and then like play top decks for the rest of the game. They'll establish no card draw. You remove their Diablos. They've got a 1/2 on board that requires you discarding cards if you don't have any, and it's just it just works really well. And then even into the matchups where you're like, okay, I can't win this late game, you can just aggro them. So if there's any Ruby matchups in the room, overall, just it felt, compared to the interesting thing was, compared to Blurple, where it felt like I was playing absolute fundamental Lorcana, like the most powerful thing I could do, as I say, is get Belle out of turn 1 and sing Friends. But even that, she's a vanilla 3/3, and she's just drawn me 2 cards, and I haven't got any steel removal, I haven't got any red removal. So even what's going on there, I'm going to have to use Foxes and Genies and Bells, and it's playing real, like, fair gameplay to playing Amber Steel aggro. Just felt like I was playing, like, cards that shouldn't be printed. Like shifting Rhino on 2, knowing that there is very few ways for them to remove this, especially if they're not a steel deck, and like the only real proper way is Ursula singing Zeus. But whenever my opponent got an Ursula down or a 4/5 singer down, I could just sing Zeus on that and then just keep questing and turn things sideways. It requires 1-drops and then like a Chernobog and a Crab or something ridiculous like that. It just fundamentally felt like a more powerful cards I was playing, cards that shouldn't be printed. And even going into that turn 3 being on the play, I think Lady is a great card on the draw, because you establish an extra character and you're like managing to leverage that you're one turn behind, but on the play it's just a winning play. If they're going to do something like ramp or establish something, ramp or a card draw a card on 2, and you play Smee into Lady Piglet and you question your Smee, it's like, right, there's just, you can maybe deal with one of these things, but it's going to take you so long, it's going to be so hard, and it's just so awkward. I did well. Our top 8 game was a mirror to one of our locals, young lad called Michael. And to be honest with you, he took a game off me there, and that was really hard fought. He was playing the Vinny version, and we kind of went for top seed because I was like, it's Amber still aggro. Like, I feel the most confident when I'm at top of the, I'm going first every game. So I was like, I need to go first every game. So we went 4 wins, draw, and 4 wins and a draw into the top cut so we could take top seed. And to be honest with you, I only really won that matchup because I was on the play. On the draw, I don't think I could really win the Vinny matchup. I need to get the Ursulas and along came Zeus. If I miss them, it's rough. But I also need a Rhino on the board. He had the Calhoun, so it was hard for me to get any lore as well. Hoping he'd gas out on docks. Like, it's just rough in general. So I really felt like still some of the matchups I could only really win by being on the play into there. And into top 4, game 1, I able to do this. We played against the Steel Song, and I was able to do this just strong game plan of, okay, I know it's Steel Song because it's a store champs, and you kind of end up just knowing what everyone's playing in the room after like 2 rounds. We can do Cinderella to delete their Cinderellas, Ursula to delete with like Zeus, get their Troubadours, get their Ursulas, get their Ariels off the board. We can go wide and say, if you're going to wheel me, I've deleted all your singers, so after you wheel, you can't really do much. And I'm just going to play more stuff on board. We can do Shift Rhinos. And that's great. And I think actually it was a 2-0 to me on that one. I think both games we all started with opening what's the card called? Daisy. And if I'm the aggro player, I'm kind of grateful if they open Daisy. I think it only missed once and hit a Let the Storm to the bottom, and to be honest, I could have done without that Let the Storm. So it just kind of gives the deck card draw, especially against Steel. So I'm happy to let one Daisy just sit there questing, because when I want to race for game, I'm able to win the game quicker than they are, and I'll take the advantage of drawing so many cards from the Daisy as well. So yeah. But that game, yeah, game one, I got to do the exact game plan I wanted. Game two, they didn't find the whole new world, and when they did, they found two at once. And at this point, we've been battling for a bit. We've been rumbling. There you go. That's the point of the name. Let's get ready to rumble. So we just deleted any singers, and they'd had the hard player, and it just really wasn't the position they wanted to be in. So we also won it there. So yeah, both lists felt very, very strong. I'd say Blurple has a probably better matchup spread, but I guess the caveat is if you go into a room full of Steel Songs, even saying that they need to play very well, I would not want to play like 4 out of my 5 rounds versus Steel Song with Blurple. I just wouldn't bring it. But Amber still aggro, especially this more hybrid build. I feel like you only really lose when the deck doesn't work. And of course, the only real options you have to change the matchup, your mulligan is the most important thing. Making sure you come out of the gates with a very strong hand, and even when you don't, we played a Steel Song where our hand was bad. We kept a Pete, and that was all we kept out of 7 cards. We sent it back. We drew 2 more Petes, and the rest of the hand was songs. Ink passed for 2 turns. We set up our Petes, then they can sing, and we just delete everything, and we managed to win it that way. So there are ways in, even when the deck bricks, but yeah, it sometimes just feels like if you're gonna draw docks, if you're gonna draw your steel removal, you're gonna win the game, and if you don't, you don't. We had experienced both of those yesterday, but I think this is also just a really strong choice into a wide room. I quite like it into Steel Song. I don't think it's still extremely favored, but it feels 50-50 at best, because we can still sing Zeus, and we aggressively quest quicker, and we can punish them for using Whole New World if we have all these cheaper characters to play. To be honest with you, the only real time it feels weak is when it doesn't want to do its thing. Even in bad spots, in bad matchups, I can be like, draw a dock, go wide, and just try and aggro them out to 20 before they can. So it's also another strong choice. I just like Blurple a bit more, I think, is mainly my reasoning for saying that deck, but Amber aggro as well. This build has just been very strong for me, and I know a few other players who've been using it as well. And if you notice, I'm kind of not copying, I've just become the sort of player who really just likes playing 4 copies of every card that's good. Even here, like I mentioned, I would get rid of the Hypnotic Strength and 4x the Monstro. So just 4x all the cards that you think are good and make it as consistent as you possibly can. And, we didn't win on the first weekend of Store Champs. We didn't win in the Content Creators, but then we've just had 2 good weekends where me and Ali managed to get Matt. So make the list as consistent as you can. Just keep playing the games. And I think both of these lists are very strong choices.